with Hustle and Pop Kettle Corn, and I'm here with Shane Knox on Vendor Chronicles.
And this is Shane Knox with Knox Handmade Toys, and I'm here with Q the Messenger, and we're on Vendor Chronicles.
Let's go.
What do you think?
That was pretty good.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
I liked it too.
Yeah.
It says what it needs to say and nothing more.
It really
But
did.
but kind of twice.
Mm-hmm.
So
it really drives it home.
if you didn't know who we were or what we do or what we're doing now, then now you do.
Hey,
Rock on.
if you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. Now you're one in the know.
Hey, that's what they say.
Well, this is episode 2.
Yes, it is.
In fact, this is episode 2. We've successfully gathered together twice in a row, somewhat on time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we go.
Here we go.
Last week on Vendor Chronicles, we left Q the Messenger at Tyson Foods. You know, that was the one thing, whenever we get to it, we want to know what was the catalyst for making you change from Tyson Foods into doing what you're doing now? I think it was a geological move already.
Yes, it was.
But I think we also said that we would talk about something to do with our businesses.
Correct. I think it's fair to our businesses, to ourselves and our businesses to
I agree.
open up.
And that's our current events.
With our business.
That's what's happening in our lives. And this is documenting what it is that we're doing and why it is we're doing it for whatever worth that may or may not be to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How was your week, man?
Had a pretty good week.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, we say week. The week actually kind of just started.
Okay.
This is Monday. But
this is Monday.
So really, how was my last week?
How was your last week? There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So,
to me, the week ends on Sunday with the camp at Mid-City.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the culmination of the week.
Or some people say the weekend's on Saturday.
That's true.
Sabado.
And I'm not going to criticize anybody for what it is for them.
Uh-huh.
But in my life, Monday starts a new week, kind of always has. I was in the business world before that. You know, Sunday was the last day of the business week, and Monday starts a new one. Right. And that's the way mine's always kind of been. So there you go.
Corporately, that's how it goes.
Corporately, yeah.
You look at a calendar, though, the week starts on Sunday.
It does. That's true. It's the first day of the week.
First day of the week is Sunday. Last day, Sunday.
That is true.
We kind of went down a little rabbit hole right there, huh? Talking about the weeks.
Yeah, but there's a big presence in this town of Seventh-day Adventists.
This is the first time I ever witnessed it. I never knew of a 7-day Adventist until I got to Huntsville.
I don't think I did either. Oakwood College is world-renowned, not just nationally renowned. It's a world-renowned college.
Yes. Within that faith.
And there are a lot of people here that practice that faith. So, but they still say Saturday is the 7th day. That's the day you go to church on, right?
They go, yes. That's their worship day.
Yeah.
Yeah. The end of the week. The Sabado.
Yeah. Hey.
It's Saturday in Spanish. Sabado.
I got no issue with that.
Yeah, me neither.
Makes no difference to me.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, keep your grass cut, and I don't really care.
Me neither.
You know.
But week-wise, business-wise, it was good. You know, we did Mid-City yesterday. I was out there.
Were you set up anywhere else this week besides Mid-City?
Yes, I do Green Street on Saturday morning. No. I do Green Street Thursday.
Okay.
Green Street's, downtown square right around the corner.
Absolutely.
Downtown Huntsville Square, turn the block. You're at Green Street.
Yep.
I do that every Thursday from 3 to 7.
Okay.
And then, of course,
Green Street's a nice market. I've done it a few times. It's a nice market.
It is. And it's a very, very consistent market.
Okay.
Very consistent market. I do Saturday mornings, I'm at Bailey Cove. South Huntsville.
Okay.
That's from 8 to 12.
Okay.
And that's pretty good market.
Okay.
You get a real good crowd.
Sure.
At that market. I don't know what it is. Like, people like to come out early. It's before the sun really gets to shining on you.
Oh, really?
So
way early.
Come out way early. It's a real good crowd, especially at the beginning of the market. As soon as they ring that bell, doom, doom, doom.
Dun, dun.
off to the races.
I've
You're
been at
talking
markets where they ring a
sea
bell
of
to start
people.
it out.
Yes.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like to ring the bell.
Yeah, you can't buy anything or sell anything before that, but when the
Before
bell
the bell.
rings, be ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
I like
open
that.
season on.
Does Maryland do
market.
that at Green Street? I can't remember. Somebody does it. Doesn't
They ring a bell at Green Street, but
Yeah.
that don't stop you from buying or selling.
it? Okay.
But they do have a bell, and I think it's a church bell. So I think it goes off every hour,
Oh, okay.
on the hour, automatically.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Cool.
So those were the 3 markets I had this week. And then a Friday, we throw in a Friday every now and then too.
Sure.
You
Sure.
know.
If you can find one, get
If
one.
you can find one, get one. Exactly.
Right.
So really, my weekend is Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Monday is the
And
day I
Wednesday.
generally take a little time and
Mhm.
clean my house and do some laundry and recover from the weekend. Right now, all I'm doing is the Mid City on Sundays, most weeks.
Okay. Mid-City Sunday.
Yeah, this week I'll be set up on the square for the art walk,
Okay.
and they're doing the dedication. There's a new mural painted on a building right across from Honest Coffee Roasters. So I guess they're doing a dedication or something for that. There's gonna be a lot of NASA people there, so it should be a good night. But we do well on the square.
Downtown Square?
Yeah, around Huntsville. Yeah,
Okay.
you're not familiar with that?
No, I never heard. They do an art walk.
Yeah. Traditionally, it's been the third Friday of the month, whatever that is. This year, they've been mixing it up a little bit and Friday night from 5 to 8, and you can stay as late as you want to. And I've stayed often until 9 or 10.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt that good friends of mine sit up next to me, and we end up a lot of times talking until late, and it is what it is.
Right.
But that's a good market for us. Yeah. I don't
Art-
know if they would allow
Art
you
walk.
to come or not, but there's people down there.
Okay.
I think you could set up on the square on any random Friday night and sell like crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how. You probably just can't. I wonder if you could just buy a permit
I've
to vend on the
I've
streets.
set up on the square here. I want to say a couple months ago, about 2
Okay.
months ago, and sales wasn't that great.
Really?
Not that I didn't sell,
Right.
but I think when people come downtown, and this is my opinion, they're looking to get wasted. They're looking to drink
Yeah. Some of them are. I guess it depends on what time of the.
or eat.
I would think early. What time were you down there?
Shoot, we got down there. It was probably 6 to 9.
Okay.
They had like a movie night going on down here.
Was it in the park?
No, it was right there on the square, right, across from the courthouse. The
Okay.
courthouse kind of sit there in the middle.
Sure.
Yeah, right in the square. Yeah.
Well, I usually do well at the art walks. That's interesting that you don't. Can't imagine why on a Friday night you wouldn't want some delicious popcorn.
I'm thinking. So like I said, people come in to drink when they come downtown.
Sure.
And outside of drinking, I would say secondarily to that is to actually eat some
To
food.
eat something,
To
yeah.
eat real food. I kind of fall into more of a snack category. You're going to definitely buy you a hamburger before you buy a bag of popcorn in most cases if you're hungry.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
But it seems like you're going to be down there with a date. Buy your date a bag of popcorn. Y'all share it. Gives you a chance to, get sticky fingers together.
yeah.
It's half of the fun of being,
Yeah.
I would have used that trick. I might have to ask Jessica if I ever did.
Yeah, you old school.
Yeah.
It's a new generation.
So at least the weather wasn't so hot this week.
No, it wasn't.
We work outside most of the time. You're pretty much all the time. And you have your trailer.
Now
But-
I have my trailer.
Yeah, but that's still, it's not like you're, oblivious to the weather around you.
No. Doors
No.
open. And in most cases, it's hotter in my trailer than it is outside.
Oh, for sure. How hot's that kettle get?
500 degrees. Easily. I got a thermometer back there when I'm popping. And if I'm batching, nonstop, that thermometer can easily get up to 125. Just in the open stream area where I'm popping.
Wow.
And that heat transfer over into where we actually sell the product, So it gets hot. It gets very hot. So especially on those days where it's, let's say it's 98 degrees outside,
Right.
it can easily be 110, 105, 110 in the trailer itself.
In the trailer.
Now back there with me where I'm actually doing the popping, making the product, it's 120, 125. So if I step outside of the trailer, it feel like I'm stepping into a cooler
breath of
environment.
fresh air.
A breath of, exactly.
Wow.
It's like air conditioner to me.
Yeah.
If I step outside the trailer.
I remember working in the restaurant business. It was that way. Hot working over a grill. Yeah. I can,
Yeah.
That's tough.
So let's, I want to talk about, excuse me. Let's talk about what we call each other at these events. As far as like, excuse me. Let me establish. So in most cases, we know each other by our business name before we know our personal names or before we get on first name basis. So you was the toy man to me.
Sure. I see what you're saying.
For a long time.
Right.
A lot of people
still am in some ways.
Right. The toy man. Yeah. And still are the toy. And I might still call you, hey, go see my toy man down there. I won't say go see Shane Knox.
Sure.
I say go see the toy man.
I send people to the Hustle and Pop all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Go see Hustle and Pop. They're my friends.
So in a lot of cases, I'm Hustling Pop or the popcorn man.
Well, a lot of times we work these events and we have our little world and it's 10 by 10. Mm-hmm. We if you're inside of a tent, for the most part, that's a 10 by 10 world that you exist in. You need to stay there for the most part because when customers come by, they want to meet the maker.
Correct.
So you see people across the way. You see somebody that maybe is doing something interesting or something that catches your eye. You see the name of their business. And now the person that comes out is named Luna Moth.
Luna Moth.
And that's a real person named Lindsay Morgan. Shout out, Lindsay Morgan. What's up?
Shout out, Lindsay Morgan with Luna Moth.
Luna Moth candles. If you don't have one, I'll just tell you now, you need to get one. But we do that. That is interesting how we do that.
Right.
There's a lot of people I could say, well, you know what? I remember recently, I'm not going to call any names on this one.
Okay.
But I asked you, what's this person's name that does this particular, do you remember that? This particular vendor at a mid-city. And you didn't know either. Neither one of us were sure. We thought we knew, but we weren't sure.
Who was the vendor?
Oh, I don't want to call it out now because they'll be listening.
Come on,
they'll be listening.
You got to shout it out.
No, because then they'll know we don't really know who they are.
Come on, Shane. I do remember this conversation, but I don't remember who we were talking about.
So, all right, I do
remember that transaction.
But you don't remember who we were talking about.
But I do not remember.
All right, so before name the name, since we're going to name the name, there you go. Let's tell the truth in all things, right?
Name the name.
So it's no disrespect that I don't necessarily know this gentleman's name. I know him. I know his character. I know what type of person he is. He's welcome to come over and pick my daughter up. So it's not a matter of respect. It's a matter of, oftentimes we have 30 seconds to speak to one another and then we move on. We're busy doing something.
Hold up. Before you say who it is, let me guess.
All right.
Were we talking about Tyler?
No, we weren't talking about Tyler. We were talking about Henry Family Farms.
Oh, yeah, Henry Farm.
Mr. Henry.
Yeah.
Which I think is his name. I did.
No,
positive.
His name is not Henry. His name is Toussaint.
Say it again.
Toussaint. Like
Toussaint.
Yes, he's from the islands.
Sure.
So Toussaint is his name. Yeah, so okay. I know his name.
So now you're going to leave me dangling out there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
But
I thought we were going to be like in this together. I had a partner that had my back.
Yes,
but now I realize I'm the only idiot.
And in a lot of cases,
Toussaint, man, I love you, brother. It's for real. I do. I'm old. Can I? What am I?
Right. But stop you know what? Honestly, if you asked him his name, he'll say Henry.
I know he told my wife that.
He will say Henry.
So that's what's
because I think because his name is kind of difficult to pronounce for one, and it's not a very common name, and that's on the side of his business, Henry Farms.
It is for sure.
So to be fair to you, his name he will tell most people will know him as Henry
for
Farms.
For sure.
Yes.
Well, all right.
Shout out Henry Farms.
Shout out Henry Farms. Listen, I get fresh vegetables every week.
Every week.
I love the springtime when they've got lettuce and different spring mix. So much better than store-bought lettuce, but it's too hot right now.
Yes.
Has been.
Yes.
Yeah, the last month or so has been brutal.
It has.
This weekend was
humid. It's actually started to cool off a little bit. And it was still rough, kind of rough this weekend. This past Sunday, the humidity. Yeah, you step out, you sweating.
Yeah, and you don't think about, if you go out, per se, just as as a family doing something on a Sunday, you'd be out for a couple of hours, maybe in and out of different places, the car or whatever that have air conditioning. But we got a plan for being out there for, what do you think, 6 hours probably? The market lasts for 4, an hour on each side of it for setup and breakdown.
Yeah.
And whatever needs you have, and we take our families.
Mm-hmm.
So we have children, little children, and medium-sized children, and big children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We got to be prepared for all those needs. It's an interesting exercise in fatherhood.
How so?
They expect us to be prepared for all those needs.
Yeah.
And do you have a piece of candy too?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know? Leilani's got where I'll get her a Sprite.
She did come back with a Sprite.
She's never one time asked for one. But if I offer, she'll say, I would like a
ain't gonna
Sprite,
turn
and
it
kind of
down.
smile at me. Yeah.
So not a Coke and a smile, a Sprite and a
Sprite
smile.
and a smile.
Are they the same company? Sprite and Coke are the same company.
Yeah, they are.
So essentially, it is a Coke and a smile.
It is a Coke and a smile. Man,
Even
did you
though
ever
it's a
hear the
Sprite.
story about Eddie Murphy and Bill Cosby and Richard Pryor? Eddie Murphy, when he started his career, got a phone call from Bill Cosby chastising him for his rough language. Bill Cosby was not happy that a young, upcoming black comedian, he wanted him to clean up his language some and quote unquote represent. I'm just reporting the story as I've heard it. Okay. It's not, so Eddie Murphy he was upset because he felt like Bill Cosby was one of his idols. Mm-hmm. And he was, it really bothered him that Bill Cosby said that, and he related the story to Richard Pryor. And Richard Pryor said, do they come to your shows? Yeah. Do you get paid for your shows? Yeah. He said, well, tell Bill Cosby to have a Coke and a smile and shut up. Mm-hmm. He said it just a little bit different. But, our families may be listening.
Okay.
I don't want Layla, But anyways, have a Coke and a smile. So now anytime I hear somebody say that, it reminds me of...
You think of that story.
Richard Pryor's response to Bill Cosby, And isn't it interesting that Bill Cosby was worried about somebody's language, and yet what he was really doing was,
that's where I was about to go. Like how funny you think Bill Cosby's situation is to Eddie Murphy? After Bill Cosby trying to tell him,
I've thought about that a million times.
How to live his life.
All I did was say words. You, sir, did really terrible things.
And went to jail for it.
Yeah, I've wondered.
I wonder if Eddie actually called Bill.
I've wondered a million times did he reach out. I think I would have been like,
I would have had to reach out to him.
So, Bill, let me tell you something.
Right.
That would be some delayed retribution right there.
I would have had to. Me personally, like I'm seriously an eye for an eye type of guy.
I believe in consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an eye for an eye. Maybe that's
I am. I'm a do unto others as you want them to do unto you. But I'm not a turn the other cheek type of guy.
Okay.
I
do believe in stand my ground.
Most definitely.
I'd like to phrase that differently because I don't mean that in a political stance, but it does, it's a law. Stand your ground, and you have a right as a citizen to protect what's yours.
You definitely do. The Second Amendment.
That is true. Second Amendment.
The Second Amendment.
But we talk about heavy stuff in the first 2 episodes.
The right to bear arms.
Shall not be infringed. I looked up infringed, not in preparation for this.
I don't want my rights to be infringed on.
Infringement is a interesting word.
Right.
Shall not be infringed. The right to keep and bear arms. The question is, do we trust everyday people enough that, what if everybody had a gun at all times?
I think the world would be a better place.
I think we'd be more polite.
We definitely would.
There'd be less road rage.
It really would.
That's a fact right there.
But but even on a large scale, you look at cities like Chicago, New York, where they have very strict gun laws.
Oh, for sure.
Some of these cities have the worst gun violence.
Oh, of course.
Because it's not your law-abiding citizen that's the issue when it comes to gun laws.
And you can't get rid of guns.
They're not going nowhere. Here's
a question. If you could flip a switch and magically erase the entire world of any firearms, it's a crazy hypothetical, but would you flip that switch?
No.
Really?
I would not. Would you?
I feel like I would. If nobody had firearms,
then you'll be like the UK where they just stab people to death.
If you want to kill somebody, you're still going to find a way.
You're going to find a way. If you want someone gone, you're definitely going to find a way. I'm not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't flip that switch.
I am a Second Amendment supporter. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of those people.
But you think about it, the Second Amendment protects all the other amendments.
It does.
That's the one that protects your First Amendment.
It's an equalizer.
Your Fourth Amendment, your Fifth Amendment.
Sure.
And speaking on
and your personal sovereignty.
Yeah, constitutional rights. Let's say speaking on constitutional rights or your amendments. It's something I teach my kids.
I think it's important
because they were never taught to me. You have freedom of speech. That's not saying there might not be consequences to what you say. Like if my kid tell me to shut the F up, that wouldn't be very wise of you.
Right.
But you do have the right to say it.
If you, yeah.
But
you will, and there will be consequences.
But it definitely will be consequences. You can go say whatever you want to anyone out here on the street, but you might get smacked in your mouth depending on what you say.
Or worse.
And a lot of times, just because you can say it doesn't mean you should say it.
I believe wholeheartedly in that statement.
Yes.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Does not mean you should.
In a lot more than speech. But you do have a right to say it.
You do have a right. And then the First Amendment gives you a lot of other rights. I mean, what? Freedom of religion.
Freedom of press, freedom of assembly.
Freedom of assembly, the freedom to redress your grievances to your government.
Yeah, yep.
Those are like the 5 tenets of the First Amendment. But most people just say freedom of speech.
Which, in its purest form, the rest of that is just freedom of speech.
Just freedom of speech, correct.
But I think they thought it was so important that they needed to break it down even further and make sure they hammered the point home. You have freedom of speech and freedom of the press, and all these things are speech.
Correct.
Or can be.
And then even going to your Fourth Amendment, no illegal search and seizures without a warrant. You can't just search my car, search my property.
And if they do feel like they have a reasonable cause on site to search your car, if the glove box is locked, you still don't have a right to go into that without a warrant.
Exactly.
If the trunk is locked, you got no right to go into that without a warrant.
Now, what your eyes can, you got the plain view doctrine. What your eyes can see.
Sure.
What my eyes can see is what my eyes can see.
Right. Nothing to do about that.
It is what it is. You have your Fifth Amendment. The right to remain silent.
That one's huge.
That's very huge.
You cannot be compelled to testify against yourself.
I cannot testify against myself. Oh, I should not. But like I said, so coming where I was coming from, growing up, when I first started driving, I used to get pulled over a lot. Young black kid driving a car.
Sure.
Let's say it's 10 o'clock at night.
Where did you live?
I lived in Georgia. Cobb County, okay. Cobb County, Georgia.
Cobb County, Georgia.
Cobb County is a rough place.
Yeah.
Like Cobb, I think
isn't Cobb County one of the counties that
you don't want to mess around?
Firearm ownership mandatory?
I don't know that. I've been gone for almost 20 years.
I want to say that was Cobb County, but also
that wasn't the case when I was there, though.
In the back of my mind, something really bad happened in Cobb.
Pretty sure a lot of bad things happening.
Yeah,
but Cobb County is the place you do not want to get locked up.
Okay.
Or you do not want to get pulled over.
Okay.
I've met people from all over that knows about Cobb County.
Really?
You'd have heard of Cobb County.
I have, but I don't know why. There's something in the back of my head that tells me when you say Cobb County, it rings a danger bell, but I'm not sure why.
Yeah, so, but with that being said, every time I got pulled over, regardless of what I got pulled over from, the cop would always say, I smell weed in your car.
Really?
Or,
no matter
hey,
what.
I gotta, before he even say, or I got a K9 on the way. Okay. K9 gets there. Oh, the K9 detects weed in your vehicle.
So that it would go that far?
It would go that far if I said not to search my car.
Right.
So after, like, let's say the second, third time, I just let them search it. Because I don't smoke weed.
Sure.
Not saying that I haven't.
Right.
And I got some cool stories about that. I don't know cool, but some interesting stories about that. But
okay.
Let's say I don't smoke it. I stopped smoking weed because it gave me an anxiety. It wasn't for me. So
I've heard people say that.
I stopped smoking weed in high school. I haven't smoked weed since 11th grade. Here I am, 20, let's say 20, 21 years old. I haven't smoked weed in 2-3 years.
Okay.
I don't know how your dog detects weed in my vehicle, or how your nose is picking up weed in my vehicle.
Right.
But whatever. I
had
let
the
them.
windows down for 3 years, man.
Right. But nonetheless, they would target. I really felt like I was getting targeted.
That's an intangible, like saying I smell alcohol.
Correct.
That's an excuse you can use to gain access, quote unquote, and you don't really have to back it up. Well, I know I smelled weed. He must have threw it out the window or something, or whatever.
Or you just see me, and I hate to be. I don't want to say it was a race thing, But if someone asked me, why do you think I was getting pulled over the way I was getting pulled over? Only excuse I can give me is I was black.
Did you ever get pulled over like that by a black police officer?
Never.
Probably weren't too many black police officers in Cobb County.
Not at the time,
though. Yeah,
it really wasn't.
That would have been fairly rare. Yeah. I mean, you can't say definitively that it was.
I cannot.
But you certainly can't say definitively that it was not.
Right.
And sometimes you pick up on things. Sometimes you just kind of feel like, I think maybe, they were looking at me funny or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't mean you're always right, but it doesn't mean you're wrong either,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But I tell that.
Cobb County, Georgia.
Yeah, Cobb County. Yeah. No
this
joke.
What,
I think
20-something years ago?
But I think this would have been 2004, 2005. So yeah, 20-something years ago. Yeah, definitely 20-something years ago. So I tell that story to say if I knew my rights, a lot of those situations probably wouldn't even went that far. Because for one, they would have seen a guy that knows his rights.
Right.
That's willing to stand on his rights. And then they would know how far they could go. I didn't know. I thought the police was just all authority.
All authority. And I was taught, if the police say it, that's what you do.
Correct. But that's not the case. No. I got pulled over last week with my family in the car.
Really?
Got pulled over. If I had to guess, I would say the initial stop was for my window tint.
Okay.
But when he got behind me, he realized that my registration was out of date.
Oh.
Which, honestly, honest mistake.
Sure.
Registration out of date.
Small mistake.
Small mistake.
They are going to pull you over for that, though.
Yes, but no way he could tell that from where he was sitting.
Oh, I got you. He'd already decided he was going to pull you over. Or at least get behind you and take a look.
Correct. His mind was made up that he was pulling because he seen the dark tent.
Right.
We coming down the road. So, and then to validate what I'm saying is, as soon as he gets up to the car, I locked the door. I cracked the window, maybe 2 inches. I'm not rolling my window down because I know the games that they play.
You're not required to,
and I'm not required to. You're not required to give them your license
when you're driving.
You just have to present your license.
You
don't have to give it to them.
You can show it to them through the window.
Exactly, and they can take their notepad and write down whatever they need.
Right.
It says present, not give them. Present and give are two different things.
Yeah, for sure.
So and whoever's listening to this, fact check me. You don't have to give the cops your license. You don't have to roll your windows down every now and then. So now I'm trying to give people just some game of their rights. I'm trying to, educate people. But so he comes up to the car. I'm already kind of pissed off. Nobody
likes to get pulled over.
No one likes to get pulled over. I look at police officers and they are a need and a necessity.
Oh, we don't want a world without police officers.
We do not. And I'm not bashing police officers.
For sure.
I'm not bashing police.
But police officers
don't take
are humans.
This the wrong way. Yeah, they are. And I'm a human.
And 97% of them are great people.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, okay.
I would say maybe 60.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would say maybe half. They actually did studies on police forces. This was in the 80s, I want to say. And like I said, I wish we had a Jamie to fact check stuff I'm saying right now.
Sure.
But they did studies of precincts, let's say like in New York. And they found it in these studies that over, I want to say 80% of the force was corrupt in certain precincts of them.
Corrupt as in?
Like they may be on the take or they willing to take a bribe or whatever the case may be. Might turn the other cheek. For certain groups. We might target this group, but we know these guys rolling with the mob or whoever. Hey, we got to look the other way. So corruption can be anything.
It certainly happens. Seems like I don't know. I've known Of course, how would you know? You know a police officer, but that doesn't mean you know what they're doing or how they're policing.
Right.
I don't know. And it's interesting because for the most part, I can think about 2, maybe 3 stories, even similar to the one you were telling.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of my interactions with police officers has been, hey, yeah, for sure. I knew I was flying, man. I don't know what you want me to do. Yep. I'll take my licks and move on. And other than the cash that's been involved in getting myself out of whatever trouble I was in, that's been all there was.
Mm-hmm.
Different perspectives. It's interesting how that stereotype comes true. Because I've done my share of interactions with police officers. Nothing big, but just, fast motorcycles and fast cars and lead foot, lead wrist,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I, for the most part, have always had good interactions with the police. But I'm white.
We might.
It's anecdotal. It's just 2 guys talking about their experiences.
Correct.
But it's certainly.
But your experiences kind of make up what you think about someone or who you are or how you feel about a certain situation. Just, 2 different experiences. So back to my story about me getting pulled over last week. So he comes up to the car, and at the time I don't notice that he has the tent reader in his hand.
He comes up with the tent reader.
He comes up with the tent, and I don't notice it until it's already placed on my window.
Okay.
So that automatically pissed me off when he put the tent reader on my window. I'm like, dude, what you doing? Oh, I stopped you because your license is out of registration. And when hindsight's always 20/20, when you look back and go over the situation, I was like, and looking back, I'm like, no way he could have knew my license plates was out of registration from where he was sitting to where I passed him. It's hard. It's very hard to read those little license plate stickers. It really is.
The date on it. How are you going to read that?
And I'm talking, a car could be right in front of me and I can barely make them out.
For sure.
Unless this dude got some. They say 20/20, but bro, you got to have 40/40,
20/10 or whatever.
Right. But as he's telling me this, he has the tent reader on my window.
Already put on there.
And I'm like, dude, I didn't give you permission to put that on my window.
Right.
What the hell are you doing? And I'm starting to really get upset. Oh, you're at 20%. And I'm like, I just saw your windows when we made this left turn. You're way darker than me. Oh, we're at 10%. We have the right to be at 10%.
Oh yeah, but you don't.
But so that's where the hypocrisy comes in. And that's when I actually questioned the hypocrisy.
Right.
And I looked at him, I said, do you think that's right?
I don't make the laws, sir. I just enforce them.
Come on now. Oh, well, I'm just going to give you a warning. Oh, now that I'm questioning your hypocrisy, now it's just a warning.
Now it's going to go back down to a warning. But I do think sometimes they look for a weakness. And if you seem like someone that's like, oh, really? Oh, no, it's not. Now they're going to, they'll keep pushing. But somebody that stands up and has a coherent response, that person is less likely to be, to have to end up getting the ticket or whatever the thing is, just because they realize, okay, this person's going to. There was a case about this. This has been a few years back now, but some small town, I think just north of Birmingham. It was a speed trap town. It didn't have anything to do with race. It was just a speed trap town. But what would happen was these folks in this tiny little town would sit out on the interstate and they'd pull people over, and then they would look for people that seemed vulnerable. Maybe they were from out of state, so they didn't have anybody here, and they would actually haul them back to the station, throw them in jail. If they found guns in their car, they would confiscate them and never give them back. And they would just get met with the whole, rigmarole. The police chief was fired. The whole department was disbanded. It was a big deal. I can't remember the name of it.
That's a whole department. So
this is only a few years ago that this went down.
So this goes back to how many cops do you think are actually corrupt?
Good point. I don't know.
I bet
97% were good.
I bet as we talk, that percentage will probably go down when you start to really think about it.
Yeah. It's hard to wrap your mind around the people that you're supposed to, think about protecting. You might be actively bad, but some of them are.
You know what? I think it's been proven in the Supreme Court that police officers, their job is not to protect you. Their job is to enforce law. Enforcing law is not
Sure.
is not protection.
Yeah, it says serve and protect on the side of the car, but you never see them changing a tire.
You should protect yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly.
Yeah.
That goes back to our Second Amendment conversation. Do you really want to get rid of guns?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I'm not looking for trouble either.
Right.
But if it comes to my doorstep, I will hope to be prepared.
Be prepared for it. Sure.
I would definitely hope to be prepared.
I think it's irresponsible for a family man not to have some method of protecting his family.
I totally
think
agree.
That's irresponsible.
Yes. And like I said, I'm an eye for an eye type of guy.
If you come in my house, I'm gonna feel that same way.
Oh man.
My son and I had a conversation a few nights ago about Johnny Cash, and a story that I heard one time about Johnny Cash had a house outside of the United States, maybe the Bahamas, somewhere. Mm-hmm. Of course, he was a celebrity everywhere by this time. You know, the whole world knew who he was.
The Man in Black.
The Man in Black. Yeah.
Wow.
One of a kind.
One of a kind.
Man that never sang a song in his life and made millions singing songs.
Mm-hmm.
Folsom Prison Blues. That took stones to do that concert. But anyways, apparently these guys broke into his house down there. Somehow he got the police, and they got the guys. They caught the guys that broke into his house. Mm-hmm. And the way I heard the story told was that Johnny suspected that they had been permanently disappeared, that they were disposed of.
The guys that broke into the home.
The guys that broke into his home. You broke into Johnny Cash's home. We can't have that happening on our small island and have that. You, sir, are no more. That was my understanding of the way. You know, I'm maybe telling the story wrong. But the point was that he felt bad for having called the police because they met such a terrible end.
Mm.
He felt like he wished that he would have just, sent them on their way or whatever, not told the police, and so they wouldn't have gotten, wouldn't have had that happen to him. And the question then between my son and I was, what would you have done? At minimum, I'd have called the police. I would, if I could have, I probably would have shot. But the guys came in like when they were having a family dinner. His whole family was around, and they had weapons, I guess. So I don't know.
Hopefully, I would have been calling the police after I already
did what needed to be done.
Hey, we got to clean up over here.
Yeah.
What
do you do if your kids are peeking around the corner when that happens?
Well, hopefully educate them.
I guess, yeah.
Don't break into no one home, for one. And if someone breaks into your home, this is what you do.
This is what's going to have to happen. And
this is what's going to happen.
This is when you have to learn that. But, yeah. I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
But if we could get rid of everybody's guns, I would get rid of mine too.
Well, yeah. To be fair.
If the whole world could magically, if you could magically disappear all of the guns, yeah, I'd lay mine down, especially if that includes weapons of war.
To be fair, yes. I mean, I would always choose peace over war.
Of course.
Always.
But I always want to be able to protect myself too.
Peace and love. Man.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. I don't want war.
But something to back it up just in case.
Correct.
I don't
want war. Peace and love. What do you think about the new mandates for the draft? Did that actually pass, or is that something they talking to pass?
I've only heard that on the periphery, and I'm not sure. What is it? It's an electronic registration.
Basically, right? If you're between the ages of 18 and 26, you can potentially get drafted. And I think it goes male and female. I don't think it's just a male thing going on.
I've heard talk about that. It has to be male and female. That would be an interesting. I've wondered about that a lot of times. But the registering for the draft has been a law forever, has it not?
I think they got rid of it.
At one point, they said you no longer have to register.
After like the Vietnam War, I think they kind of disbanded.
Did you not register for the draft? I did.
No. I actually signed up and joined the military.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, when I was 18, I went down to the post office and presented myself as an 18-year-old American male citizen and registered for the draft. I filled out a card and sent it in and promised that if Uncle Sam said we needed to kill some people in another country, I'd go over there and do it for him if they told me to.
Okay, now that you're a little older and wiser, would you still do that?
Would I still register for the draft?
Register for the draft. If you had your mindset now, would you have went down to the post office at 18 to go? Let me reword it. Would you go fight a war against some people that did nothing to you?
That's a big question. The caveat did nothing to you is, as the American public has always been told these people did something to us.
That's what we've been told.
We always, the line is that, just like Bush, they had weapons of mass destruction. We know they did.
Did we ever find weapons of mass destruction?
Or evidence of them? No, we never did.
We never did.
Never did.
So were we sold a lie? Or
was Bush sold a lie? Obviously, those questions are there. It's hard to believe.
I don't think Bush was sold a lie.
I don't think so either.
I think he sold us a bag of goods.
I think he sold us a bag of goods too. So then, would I go fight in a war that I thought was unjust? We started the Vietnam War in the Gulf of Tonkin, did we not? Look, I'm not a historian, but if I'm not mistaken, that was a false flag operation that I don't want to act like I'm a professor. I don't want somebody's going to come on here and go, Shane, listen, you don't know what you're talking about. That is 100% true. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do believe that we started the Vietnam War under a false flag operation because we wanted, there you go. I'm not going to put motives into politicians. I wasn't even alive then. And my father fought the Vietnam War.
I still don't know why we fought the Vietnam War. I've never heard a straight answer. What was the purpose? What did we gain from the Vietnam War?
I don't know.
But I know a lot of Americans died. And I know we killed a lot of those Vietnamese people as well.
Yes, we did. We did.
For what?
That doesn't take away from the sacrifice and the service of the men and women individually who went and fought there.
It does not.
In any way.
No.
Those are our heroes, and we should treat them as such.
They are.
But maybe we should question why we sent those heroes over there in the first place. That's the question that I would ask.
That's the question that needs to be asked.
And why didn't we have a sniper there when Jane Fonda was taking that picture on that tank? Why didn't we have somebody on a rooftop?
Right.
that one has always bugged me, man.
I went back and watched Full Metal Jacket about 3 months ago.
Really? I haven't seen that in forever.
Oh, I recommend it. I mean, the beginning of that movie has to be the most comedic genius I've seen in a movie. Just the beginning, let's say the first 20, 25 minutes when they're in boot camp.
Okay. Well, yeah.
And the things that the drill instructor says and how he treats them.
And I think a lot of that was the way it really was.
That's exactly how it was. I've been through boot camp.
Right.
I remember one time we was in boot camp, right? And we was in boot camp. They do these competitions from barracks to barracks, platoon to platoons. Who got the cleanest barracks?
Okay.
So other drill instructors will come in. Okay, I'm gonna inspect your barracks for cleanliness and order, and you'll go inspect mine.
Oh, so you're going to leave no stone unturned.
No stone unturned. And
you'll
whoever
be looking for something, the smallest thing.
Yeah. The teeniest thing.
Yep.
So during this inspection, some dummy threw something in the trash can. That was our only demerit we got from that inspection. So we lost.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, because it was a piece of trash in the trash can. Yeah, nothing on the other guys.
Wow.
And that's what knocked us from the competition.
What happened to the guy that threw the piece of trash?
We don't know who threw it. No one ever fessed up to it. And no one would. I mean,
sure.
I wouldn't,
Sure.
Why would you?
It's going to be bad.
That's not but so in that situation, we all get punished.
Right.
I'm telling you, I probably did. You ever heard of Mr. Trash Can?
No. Mr. Trash Can.
Mr. Trash Can.
Not to be confused with the trash can that we talked about last weekend. What was the movie? Harlem Nights.
Oh, no.
I want to hit people with trash cans. They didn't hit you with trash cans?
Not to be, so it's funny how trash cans comes up in our conversation again. But so our drill instructor, she gets back. I had a female drill instructor.
Oh.
Tech Sergeant Martinez. She was beautiful. Beautiful Latin lady. About 5'4". She's a drill instructor, so she's in very good shape.
Very good shape.
Very beautiful, like bronze skin, very beautiful woman. But that's the only thing could keep you kind of, from really crying from how she treated you, because she was just so beautiful. So
it's a little bit okay.
Yeah. So Tech Sergeant,
beautiful women treat me terrible.
Tech Sergeant Martinez. So when she gets back, she goes off. She goes on a tangent. She's parading the trash can around, showing all of us we're at the position of attention, standing in front of our bunks. And she was like, y'all know what's coming next. On your faces. And she was like, I want y'all to do push-ups. And every time you go down and come up, you say, I'm sorry, Mr. Trash Can 1, sir. I'm sorry, Mr. Trash Can 2, sir.
In unison. Y'all got to
In
do
unison, yes.
Okay.
This is in unison. Down. She tells us when to go down.
Okay.
She tells us when to come back up. But when we come back up, sorry, Mr. Trash Can.
Okay.
1, sir. Down. Up. I'm sorry, Mr. Trash Can 2, sir. And we probably did 100 push-ups apologizing to Mr. Trash Can.
To Mr. Trash Can.
To Mr. Trash Can. You can't make this stuff up.
No.
This is real.
But I knew a guy that was in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
It's his story, not mine. I never served. But this guy told a story about being on patrol one night, or it was a practice, somebody swatted a mosquito.
Okay.
And the person in charge, I'm not going to use the lingo because I don't know, the person in charge of whatever night mission this was, called out the person. Everybody find that mosquito. We're going to give that mosquito a proper burial. And so they dug around until somebody came up with a mosquito.
Okay.
And gave it to the commanding officer. Said, I found the mosquito. Okay, we've got the mosquito.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, Sergeant Dummy that slapped the mosquito,
mm-hmm.
was the mosquito you slapped male or female? And made him give him an answer. Maybe he said female, and he said, well, the one I've got in my hand is male. So he made them go back to search until they found another mosquito. Somehow another person got another mosquito and gave it to and then they buried the mosquito.
Oh, man.
After all that, then he made them actually dig a hole and bury this mosquito.
They probably played taps and gave him a 21-gun salute.
I think it took all night to go through all this. How long would it take for a platoon of soldiers to come up with a mosquito twice? That'd be like...
It depends on how many mosquitoes we got out there.
Well, I mean, enough where they're getting on you and smacking, but still, I think if you smacked one and the sergeant heard the smack, he would know that you've killed a new one, I don't know. Brutal torture stuff I've heard. I don't know.
But those are the games that they play.
And it's head games as much as anything else.
A lot of it is.
Find a mosquito.
Find a mosquito. Those are honestly the games that they play in boot
How long
camp.
did you serve?
I did 4 years active duty.
Okay.
And I did 4 years in the reserve.
Okay.
So when you initially sign up, you have to give 8 years total.
In some way.
In some
way.
way. That. Yes. So even though I signed up for 4 years active, I still had to give another 4 in the reserves. To make
which
up,
is not a bad deal either.
To make
really.
up my 8 years. Yeah. I mean, I got stationed at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Okay. So, you get your orders in tech school. So after boot camp, you go to tech school. Tech school is where you learn your job.
Right.
And so about halfway through tech school, they give you your orders on where you're going after you graduate tech school. So I get these papers. Our MTL, military leader instructor, calls us military training leader. Let's just say I can't remember the abbreviations.
Yeah,
everything's abbreviated.
Everything's an acronym.
Everything's an acronym. MTL calls us into the day room. All right, we got orders coming now. They done cut orders. So during this process, as long as you have the same job and you're on the same path to graduate, we can exchange orders. So let's say this guy's going to Florida, this guy's going to Japan. I want to go to Japan. He want to go to Florida because that's where he's from.
Right.
We can make an agreement to exchange. Of course, you got to go do the proper procedures and paperwork, whatever, with your, let's say,
so
logistics commander. Yeah, so they know who's going where. But we can make that exchange because all they need is a body and we're on the same level.
Right.
So calls us into the day room, giving out orders. I get mine. It says, I say, White Man, Air Force Base, Montana. But it's abbreviated MO.
Right.
I'm thinking MO is Montana. I'm a Georgia boy. I'm dumb and slow from the South. You know what I'm saying? I never seen Missouri abbreviated on the map, or if I have, I didn't remember.
And pronunciation is key there. Whiteman,
white man.
Or white man.
It's Whiteman, but I said white man.
Right.
Montana. So
White man,
my
Montana.
MTL, he looks at me, he smacks me upside the head. He said, "You dummy, that's Missouri." I said, "Oh." I didn't know.
Not much difference, though.
Not much difference.
To me.
What is the abbreviation for Montana? I couldn't tell you now.
No clue.
If I would have had to guess, I would have said MO.
MN is Minneapolis, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, whatever. Minneapolis is a city.
Yeah, Minnesota. It'll be
Minnesota, I think. I don't know.
Exactly.
Some of them are strange. Alabama works good for me. AL. Georgia. I can get my head around GA.
Florida. FL.
FL. That makes sense to me.
Louisiana. LA.
Yeah, but that's an old joke too. Where are you from? I'm from LA. LA, yeah.
Lower Alabama. Yeah, Lower Alabama's LA as well, but yeah, but that's just a funny story. Oh man. So I got stationed at Whiteman Air Force Base in 2006.
Okay.
And I spent my whole time there. I deployed once, but most of my time here in the States was at Whiteman Air Force Base. That's how we got to Missouri.
Okay.
Correct. And Whiteman, the special thing about Whiteman is that they're the only base that flies the B-2, the B-2 stealth bomber.
Really?
Yes.
So all the missions around the world, that's where they
come out of Whiteman. Or they might be at a forward operating base, like let's say like Guam.
But their permanent station is at Whiteman.
Permanent station is at Whiteman Air Force Base. And so
those things can, if you get tankers up there, they can go as far as you want them to go, right?
Oh yeah.
They could launch from Whiteman and go as far as they want to go. Without ever stopping, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's amazing that that aircraft was, I want to say, designed in the 70s. Built in the 80s, early 80s.
It was kept secret for a long time. Nobody knew that we had it. We, the American people didn't know we had it.
No,
that was very secret.
Unless you lived around there where you'll see them flying through the sky. Yeah. I'm like, man, what's that? Oh, that's the B-2 that they built it over there north of Grumman.
That we don't have, but we have.
That we don't really have, But
you think that's what UFOs are? The next technology that...
No. I believe in UFOs. I believe in, I don't want to say UFOs. I believe in... I think aliens is the wrong word.
Extraterrestrial life?
I don't even want to. What if we're the extraterrestrial life?
Well, to somebody else we are, if there's somebody else out there.
And they've been here. Have you ever looked up how old the Earth is? How old that they can say that the Earth is?
Depends on who they are.
Scientists. Let's say the general consensus among scientists is that the Earth is like 12 billion years old.
Billion. Okay. Sure.
We can't even fathom
12
we
billion
can't. We
years.
barely can fathom 100 years.
For sure.
Can you imagine fathoming a billion years?
No,
and
not at all.
They say the scientific community consensus is that the Earth is 12 billion years old.
Okay.
So
I can buy that.
Think of what all came before we got here. I think they can date us to a couple thousand.
I think civilization maybe 10,000 years. As far as civilization,
like
as
let's
we
say,
know
like
it.
the pyramids. I think that's like kind of the oldest structures.
How old are they? They're not that old, really. 7,000,
maybe pyramids,
something like that.
So I'm like, what was going on all those other billions of years?
Do you believe in ancient societies?
I think yes. I guarantee yes. I believe in ancient societies, and I would say that we're not the first people here. It's no way, based on how old the Earth is and how long the Earth has been here.
Of course, some of that time was evolution for the Earth to become habitable.
Okay, let's say it took 8 billion to become habitable.
Good point. 4 billion is still 4 billion.
4 billion is still 4 billion.
That's a lot of years.
Even if it took, let's say, 11 billion.
I think there's two ways to think about that. One is ancient, what I would say ancient societies. Other societies that may have been as advanced or more advanced than we are, that for one reason or another were wiped out.
Yes.
A catastrophic comet event. If something the size of the moon, that would be way bigger. But the biggest asteroid that ever happened hits the Earth, kills all life on it, starting over from scratch. So that's certainly a possibility. And then when you think about that, how did was their technology the same as ours?
I think we're getting to the point of their technology.
But it could have been a completely different, like maybe they figured out a different form of propulsion and they never had cars.
Right.
Or maybe think about even in our society, if you went back 120 years or whatever it was to Edison and Tesla, Tesla wanted us to have electric cars, and electric cars were invented before gasoline powered cars were.
Mm-hmm.
So what if electric had won out and we had for the last 125 years built an infrastructure in this country around electric cars rather than gas combustion cars? I bet you could pull into a refueling station, whatever that would be called, and swap out battery packs in your car and keep on driving. And the problem of longevity on electric cars would be solved then. Just like we solved it with gas-powered cars, there could be now we're talking about the multiverse, or could be, but if we had gone the electric way, it would seem just as strange for these people to say, wait, you have places where there's an underground tank that stores thousands of gallons of an extremely combustible liquid,
mm-hmm.
that even the fumes of it are extremely combustible. And then you put this in your car and you put your family in there and you drive across that's
mm-hmm.
crazy.
Crazy.
Why don't you just put a battery in it?
Wow.
But instead, big oil won, maybe, or whatever big oil was back then.
Big oil did win out.
But for whatever reason, the combustion engine became the standard.
The standard.
Maybe
mm-hmm.
it was Henry Ford that did that. Maybe
he was around that Tesla era.
Maybe if Henry Ford,
early 1900s, turn of the century,
something like that.
1900s.
I think maybe a little bit later, but they probably were alive at the same time.
Because I've seen documentaries on Tesla. Tesla created free energy
for sure.
I mean, like he was pulling it out the air, because you would think the Earth is a big conductor,
right?
Magnetism, electricity is all around us,
right?
And he was pulling it out the sky, able to power homes,
right?
And he was creating towers without wires.
Imagine if we had gone Tesla's way. What would our world look like?
They had to shut him down.
So maybe there was an ancient civilization 20,000 years ago.
I don't think maybe. I guarantee it was. The Earth is too old for it not to be.
It seems that way to me too.
It's too. What if say if we were able to go back 200 years, we would be a god to the people with what we know and what we have. Just me.
Without a doubt.
I would be a god.
You would be a god without a doubt.
So what if what we call God was that ancient being that created us, that's been here? Food for thought. I don't want to get too religious or too off topic.
That's
it might be
not really religious. That's more of
a little too much for people to handle. I mean, but you might start to think. I could be a god if I went back 200 years right now.
That's true.
I could be a god.
When you think about some of the biblical stories, and there you go. We haven't talked about how deep we want to go into our own religious beliefs,
mm-hmm.
but what was the chariot of fire? And if you lived 2,000 years ago and you wanted to describe, say, a rocket taking off,
flaming chariot.
What would you call it? Yeah, the fastest conveyance you've ever even considered is a chariot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And now you've got something moving faster than you can possibly imagine. And not only that, but flying through the sky. What would you call it? Maybe a chariot of fire, right?
What would you call it?
What if you had a artificial light and you saw it from behind a bush?
Hey, that's your burning bush.
Maybe. That's the only language that you have to describe.
It was burning but not consumed.
Burning but not consumed.
Yep. On fire but not consumed.
How would you have described a firearm 500 years ago? You wouldn't have the language to describe an explosion.
Right. If I just went back with an AR-15.
He had lightning in his hand.
Oh, my goodness.
That might be the only way you would describe it, right?
You think one gun can control 100 people?
For sure.
One gun. Imagine if I went back with a gun.
I could control
civilizations.
Yeah. You could control, yeah.
With one gun.
One gun.
I can control a whole civilization.
Yeah. And back to your original point, though, back full circle, what you would do with that one gun is, instead of physically controlling the population with it, you establish yourself as a god. And now the family is too And now the family. What's the family? That was a distraction. We got to get. You know what? This is our. Hey, did anybody notice this is our second episode?
Second episode.
So if it's a little bit notchy, we are not professionals yet.
No,
but we're coming.
And
we'll get there.
And like I said, we're really speaking organically and just whatever comes to mind. It's we have no set script.
You know how we started doing this? We really stopped in the middle of a story right there too. But maybe that's one we ought to say for another time.
Which story?
Well, not story, but
what we was just
discussion.
Discussion.
What God
Discussing.
is. Yeah, let's put that on pause.
What God is.
Because we've been talking for a while now, as we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what started this whole thing. Q and I would meet at the market. We'd have our duties for the moment set up and the market not really started yet. And we'd have a long conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was one of us or one of our wives that said, you should just record that and make it a podcast. But we both kind of were like, this really always happens.
Right.
Probably one of the hardest things is being able to wrap my mind around that somebody might want to listen to this. But I find our conversations.
I would listen to it.
I find our conversations fascinating.
Yeah.
No matter where they go.
And who knows we were going to go here?
Who knows? Yeah.
I think we start. It's crazy.
We got some interesting ideas. But sometimes you got to open your mind to realizing that everything you think about life, everything you believe about everything that's around you is colored by the experiences that you've had.
Correct. That's kind of what we was discussing earlier.
It comes
like
back
me
full
getting
circle.
pulled over as a black guy.
When I see a police officer in my rearview mirror, first thing I do is turn on the interior light, roll down my window, and put my hands where they can see them.
Mm-hmm.
That's ingrained in me. The first thing you do is crack your window just enough where you can't be grabbed or whatever it is.
Right.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
And lock the door.
Yes. The police officer knows that you've done those things. It's just interesting how perception has changed, or everything that we know is changed by the experiences that we've had.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you never know what experience the person that you're talking to has had until you have these conversations.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Correct.
And
Walk
until
a mile
you
in
do,
my shoes.
Don't judge me.
Right.
I had a friend, he passed away during COVID. When he was a young man, he worked at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And then ended up going to work at Sam's Club. But while he was working at Walmart, he was working the tire and battery section. Back then it was, anyways, an old guy came up. I was asking him about some batteries or whatever it was and held this conversation for a couple of minutes. My friend said he tried real hard to be polite and the guy moved on. Turns out that was Sam Walton.
Oh.
He was known to do that, I guess, pop in the stores.
Wow.
Unannounced, no entourage, and just see what type of service his employees were given. And my friend never heard anything else about it, which he took as a very good sign.
Yeah.
He figured if he had done something stupid,
he would have been out the door.
He would have been out the door and something would have happened.
Yeah.
I bet Mr. Walton probably never even made a report of, he just went in because he wanted to know what was going on in his business.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You never know who the person that you're talking to is. You never know what they've gone through.
Or who you're entertaining. Yes, you never
What's
know.
their day been like?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they got pulled over by that police officer 10 minutes before you interacted with them. And they were harsh, and then you were harsh back because why are they talking to me like that? Well, you don't know what they just went through. You don't know.
You don't.
You don't know what their life's been like. And it's easy to say that somebody should do something or other, but do you know where they've been?
That's good.
I don't know. I think sometimes when we go to these markets, it's easier to sit back and watch the people. And we see a lot of different kinds of people coming through, and they've had all different kinds of days.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. I've been in public service my whole life. I've dealt with the public my entire life. That's all I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know what, sometimes I wish people would have taken into consideration maybe what I went through that day. But as a manager of a McDonald's, and we haven't really talked about that, I was the easiest target for everybody.
Oh.
Because if you're pissed off and you can't do anything about it and you feel like you have no agency and you're going to go home and maybe it's home to a spouse that doesn't care about you or whatever it is.
You're talking from an employee's point of view. or a
From
customer?
a customer's point
A
of view.
customer's point of view.
You're
Okay.
a customer.
Okay.
You're just a random person, and this is how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way your life is. And you go to a job that you may or may not like, and then you sit through traffic, and on the way home, you stop to pick up some food, and who's the one person that has to take whatever you dish out? The person behind the counter. They have to take whatever you dish out, no matter what it is.
If they want to
And
keep
I
their
could
job.
tell you some stories.
I can't wait to hear them.
Man, I could tell you about some of the things that people said to me as a restaurant manager at McDonald's, and I'm the guy wearing a tie and a white shirt. You know, I wore a white iron button-down Oxford shirt. Sometimes I'd keep one in the office so I could change into a clean one. And the things that people would say to me, because they know I have to take it. That's part of what I was paid for, was to take whatever crazy person.
They say, heavy is the head that chooses to wear the crown. You chose that position.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
I did. You can always leave.
You chose that
You
position.
can always leave.
You can.
But, yeah, that's yeah. I suppose I did.
You did.
And eventually I chose not to do it anymore. And now with what we do, if a customer comes up and is insulting or says something that we don't appreciate or, whatever it is, we don't have to take that.
No, you don't.
I don't have to take that.
I guess we could tell some stories about rude customers.
I'd have to go back to the restaurant business. Honestly, I could probably tell some. I've had weird things happen as a vendor.
Ooh. Next episode. Weird things that happen as a vendor.
Weird things that happen as a vendor.
Oh, man.
I'll give a funny one real quick. That'll take 2 seconds.
Okay.
Not 2 seconds. But this happened at the Cornbread Festival in South Pittsburgh. First of all, I'm a married man. Very happily married man. And this story has nothing to do with anything other than me being a very happily married man and going home to my wife. There wasn't even a thing. But I remember waiting on a customer, a young lady, and she had a young daughter that was probably 12 or 13, maybe 10 or 11. It's hard to judge, right? I waited on the pair of them. Everything was fine. They were very nice to me. I was very nice to them. They left. They turned around and walked away, didn't buy anything. It is what it is, right? As they left, I heard the young lady say to her mother, "Hey, Mom, what about that guy?"
Ooh.
And her mom, in an almost embarrassed voice, said,
Were you that guy?
Yeah,
Okay.
Speaking of me.
Okay.
And her mom said, "Oh, he's married. He was wearing a ring." And the little girl said, "Yeah, but what if he wasn't?" And they both kind of giggled and walked away. It was funny to hear that conversation, not knowing that I was hearing. Obviously, this was a conversation between a mother and daughter. And obviously, it's flattering anytime anybody, whether they're 12 or, however old the mom was, that's always flattering. But it's interesting to hear that conversation. You realize this is just a tent that I'm in, right? The walls are made out of fabric.
Wow.
And I can hear everything that you say. And I heard that whole conversation as they walked away. And of course, I smiled to myself and, moved on. But this is the first time I've ever told that story. I never even told it to my wife. I don't know why.
Well, she'll hear it now.
She'll hear it now. Yeah,
Wow.
She'll hear it she hasn't listened to episode 1 yet either.
Oh, she still got to listen to episode
I
1.
got to figure out how to share it. Kevin, you got to show me how I can share it with Jessica so that she can hear it too. And then she'll hear that story for the first time and hopefully get a little bit of a chuckle.
Oh, man. I know I did. So, okay, with that being said, I think it's time we wrap it up.
I do.
I want to leave out with some words of wisdom.
You're known to do that. Take it away.
If you do what you love, you'll never work hard a day in your life. That's one. I have one more. If you do what you love, you'll never have a hard day's work in your life.
Sometimes when people ask about my story and what it is I do now, and they realize I was a restaurant manager, they talk about the hours. It was a lot of hours. I work as many hours now as I ever did in the restaurant business, between setting up at festivals and making toys at home and what have you. But it doesn't feel like I'm working at all.
Because you're doing what you love.
I almost feel like I'm getting away with something.
Yes.
What's number 2?
Number 2 is, if you give people what they need, they'll always need you.
If you give people what they need, they'll always need you.
They'll always need you. And that's speaking from a business mindset. Let's say we provide a service that someone will always need. And we are the subject matter expert of that service or whatever we're giving. There will always be a need for that service. There will always be a need for us.
Didn't we talk about the gold rush?
We never talked about the gold rush.
during the gold rush times, you know, thousands and thousands of people flocked out. I think it was my son and I flocked out to California. 49ers, they called them.
Mm-hmm. The
49, whatever it was.
Yep.
That's how the football team got their name, right? And some of those people found gold, and some of those people that found gold got really rich.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them didn't find gold, and they didn't get really rich. But you know who always made plenty of money?
The guy providing the tools.
The dude selling the shovels.
Selling the shovels.
I always want to be the guy selling the shovels.
It was a need.
Provide a useful service.
Yes.
And you'll always be needed.
Yes. That's amazing. That was a good story to my wisdom, my words of wisdom.
You know who else made a lot of money during the gold rush?
Who was that?
We'll say saloon owners.
Hey, wasn't that the first profession?
Well, I was going to say prostitutes.
The first
The first profession. The second one probably was saloon owner.
Why you think it's pro?
Pro.
That's
terrible.
They were pros. That's the first profession.
Pros,
That's the first profession.
And they did make a lot of money during the gold rush. One way or another, whether it's company or booze or shovels, if you're providing what people need, make yourself needed, you will always be needed. It goes back full circle to what you said. You can judge however you want to judge it, but people will pay for what they need.
People will definitely pay for what they need. And I could rattle off a few more gems if Kevin, you still listening, Kevin? And shout out 86 Kids Studio.
Once again, 86 Kids Studio. We need to make sure we do that every time.
Yes, we definitely need
shout
to.
Shout out 86 Kids
Shout
Studio.
out 86
This wouldn't be possible.
Hey, tell it.
Tonight's podcast is brought to you by 86 Kids Studio.
86 Kids Studio. Shout out 86 Kids Studio.
It wouldn't be possible here without Kevin Richardson and his... Listen, it's late in the evening, too. It's been a long day for all of us, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a father of a teenage boy.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite teenage, but shout out Nirvana.
Shout out Nirvana. Shout out his wife.
Shout out all of our wives.
All of our... Ooh.
One of them is...
shout out Jessica.
Shout out Jessica. Thanks for being patient while we do our little thing right here.
Shout out Yala, Susanna.
Shout out Susanna. There you go. Back to what you were talking about.
Yala. I call her Yala.
Call her Yala. Yeah.
But her name is Susanna.
I've been right next door to you guys on Sundays for several years now. So we've, I've gotten past the Yala, but it took a long time before I was,
Before she was Susanna.
Before she was Yala. Shout out Cynthia.
Shout out Cynthia Darden.
How are you, Miss Cynthia? Are you tired?
Oh, I know she is.
She's got to be.
She had a long day. She actually went in and sat in the office today and did a little work. So
okay,
yeah. Shout out Cynthia.
It's funny. We could be doing whatever it is that we're out doing, whatever it is that men are out doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Worst thing we do is drink water and do a podcast late at night.
Do a podcast.
We're a little too old to be out painting the town red or whatever it is. No James Browns among us.
86 Kids Studio.
86 Kids Studio. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
It means a lot
Kevin.
to us.
Thank you.
It means a lot to us. So next week, what are we going to tease? Interesting vendor stories, right?
Weird.
You
said you had some weird stories.
I've had some weird things happen.
Vendor stories.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 5
I really
years.
haven't had nothing weird happen to me.
I've had a couple of weird things.
So
let's think about it.
Maybe you spearhead that one, and I just kind of piggyback and
I'll end up telling stories about the restaurant business.
Okay,
is what would end up happening.
I bet
weird things have happened as a
very
vendor,
interesting.
But as a restaurant manager, I've often thought I need to write those things down.
So you tell your restaurant stories, and I could tell my Tyson stories.
There you go.
Or any other stories or whatever career profession. You know what we didn't touch on that we promised in round 2? I mean, in our first episode was how did I get from the Tyson business to Alabama? We started the
podcast saying we were going to talk about it.
We did, and we never got on it.
All right. So we're going to push that to episode 3.
That's episode 3.
It's like playing skins. This one's a push.
Yeah. Shout out episode 3.
Shout out episode 3. Here it comes.
Coming.
So now everybody knows at least there's going to be 3 episodes.
Right.
How many people have heard this so far? Because it's not out there for the public.
I sent it to a few people.
Okay.
And I got some feedback.
I haven't sent it to anybody yet.
I sent it to a few people.
We should talk about that off mic.
Okay.
Let's talk about the feedback and what can we do. But I encourage feedback.
Correct.
I think that's always important. I'd like to hear what anybody that might listen to this has to say about it. All right. Episode 2 is in the can, is it not? What else have we got?
Hey, don't go get me started. we'll be making episode 3 right now.
We'll do it right now.
Episode 3 coming right now.
All right. Well, I'm going to take us out.
Take us out.
Episode 2 is in the can. We'll see y'all next week on Vendor Chronicles.